Okay, just so everybody knows that I am recording the meeting. You can go ahead, Mr. Chair.
All right, let's see if anybody else is there. Nope. All right. Good evening, all. Welcome to the February 20th, 2024 Armory Park Historic Zone Advisory Board meeting. Calling the meeting to order at 6:31. I'm John Burr, and we'll move to item 1, roll call. I'm here. Helen?
Here.
Pat? Not yet present. Maurice? Maurice, can you say yes?
Please, yeah.
Yeah, I know, but don't we have to have the audio?
Yeah, he needs to answer.
Maurice, are you frozen? His screen appears to be frozen. You want me to call him?
Can you call the other people and then go back to him?
Yeah, we can go back to him. And Stan?
Here.
And Lynn?
Here.
Great. Well, we have a quorum. Should I hold off for a minute before I proceed and give Stan a call? Or
You do have a quorum.
Maurice?
Oh, he's come back now. Try it again.
Can you hear us now, Maurice?
He signed up like 2 times. Not sure.
Does it show anything? Yeah.
You want to call him?
Okay. Maurice, can you hear us? We're doing roll call. You'll need to unmute or fix your audio, Maurice. We'll record you as being here, but we'll go ahead and move on. Please let us know when you can speak. Okay. Item 2, approval of the minutes from January 16th. You all got them late, but did they look all right? Any comments?
No, I think it's fine. I make a motion to be approved as submitted.
Great, thanks, Stan. Do we have a second?
Second, this is Helen.
Thanks, Helen. All in favor, roll call vote. I say yes. Helen?
Yes.
Maurice? Stan?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Okay. We'll record that and we'll ask about that. All right, item 3, call to the audience. Michael, did you receive any comments?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, then we'll move on to item 4, reviews. Item 4A, SD 1223-00137, 125 East 16th. Continued case, and I see Steven's on there. Hey, Steven, welcome back.
Hey, everybody.
You want to get screen sharing?
Sure.
Maurice, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I got disconnected. I lost my internet for a second here.
Okay, are you okay with the minutes?
I didn't hear anything. My internet went off.
Okay, you can hear me now.
okay.
Do you approve the minutes as presented?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. All right, we'll call that one a day. Back to you, Stephen.
Let me
Michael?
make him the I'll make you a co-host so you can share your screen, Steven.
Thank you.
You should be good to go.
Okay. Let's see. Share screen. All right. Can everybody see my screen right now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So just gonna run through what we've gone through the last meeting. So here's the development zone map, and the red portion is the subject lot. and the green is the development zone. Here's some neighboring facades. Here's the Main Street facades, South 5th Avenue, 16th Street, South Arizona Avenue, and South Arizona Avenue continued.
Vivian, can you go back, please? Can you go back to your development zone?
Sure.
Yeah, it's actually larger than is technically there because you're on a corner. It's all the four corners and a couple properties each direction, and then both sides of Arizona Avenue, but it's not the necessarily all the other ones.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's the same for photographs. They need to be from your development zone.
Okay.
It's fine. I mean, we're familiar with the area.
Okay.
All right. So, okay, just to review, the following proposal outlines our plan to enclose our current rear porch, adding an additional 500 livable square feet to the existing 972 square feet. This initiative aims to enhance the aesthetic appeal of the structure by beautifying the western facade that faces South Arizona Avenue. And our proposed course of action is designed to uphold the integrity of the building's existing footprint and historical architectural style. And the idea is that it will seamlessly blend the functionality and elevated aesthetic, resulting in a harmonious and impactful enhancement to the property and surrounding area. So here's some aerial views. This is the garden wall that was constructed on the east side. Some details. And there's a more comprehensive drawing set this time around. As you can see, the two pergolas on the east side of the property are on the site plan. There's no change to the existing footprint of the building. So here is a construction plan of what we're going to do, basically putting in two air handling units, wall mounted, and a condenser unit on the exterior. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but the idea is just to put the condenser unit so it won't be visible from the street. It'll just be in the backyard area. And these are the two air handler units. This is the switching diagram for all the electrical. So there's a couple of exterior lights here. Here's the existing electrical panel, and we're adding in these two units. Some calculations, and the minimum free ventilating area for vented space. So the air vents are going to be located up here. I don't know if this Zoom thing is blocking it, but this is the existing house has these grills that are between the eaves, and they're just wire mesh and they're open to the attic. So the idea is basically to satisfy this criteria, the 3.54 square feet between the eaves. The CMU wall, this is the existing slab. So this is cutting through a window here. And this is cutting through a door here. Here's some elevations. So here's the existing 3 to 8 ton unit that's on the roof. These are the awnings and the window screens that were put on Arizona Avenue side. These are elevations of the two pergolas that are on the exterior. Let's see. Yep, the existing electrical panel is not moving from the last time that they moved it. And here is that elevation of that garden wall. Here. And here's kind of a blown up elevation of the garden wall. as well as like a switching diagram, because there are some lights that are on that wall. Existing site conditions and kind of details of the existing building. This is the idea for what we're proposing. I know there were comments saying like you guys prefer if it was more like a smooth stucco, it was more like a historic finish versus that kind of like 90s looking finish that they did. Ideally, yes, we would like the smooth finish, but these renderings are basically just trying to match the existing building. Here's another view. And that's it.
Okay. Well, thanks for addressing some of those things. I'm going to open it up to the board before I comment. Helen, do you want to start?
It looks to me, I don't have the checklist in front of me, but it looks to me as though you've addressed all of our questions. Again, John, you may have other items there, but I think that you've done a good job.
Thank you.
Hey, Maurice.
Well, I'm just curious, but are French doors compatible with the area?
There's some properties in the development zone that do have them.
Okay, I was just a little curious there. But all right, as long as it's not a novelty, it looks like everything was pretty well covered, and we're gonna get this thing, this house, back to its normal function. That's my opinion. So I would say let's go ahead.
Stan.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a lot. I don't know that the questions have been asked or addressed from our previous contract, our previous meeting, where we addressed the electrical panel where you had 100 amp versus a 200 amp panel, which is irrelevant to the advisory board, but it was something that should be taken care of. And then also there was those 4 2x4 vents that you said you had in the attic that were, I don't see that they were explained anywhere on these drawings. Was that addressed, and what was that all about?
So those were from my contractor. He did some drawings and he kind of put those in. I don't believe that those are there. I actually went onto the roof myself to kind of see what was going on, and that's not really happening. I also took measurements of the existing air handling unit, so that's drawn to scale in these drawings. I know that the existing house is ventilating the attic with some wire, they're like open wire mesh between the eaves and the roof. And I don't see any other, there's no like punctures within the existing porch for ventilation.
All right, well, there's a code issue on the venting of the attic, which, you're addressing it in the eave, but you also have to have upper ventilation. So that's got to either come out somewhere up higher on the roof line. It can be a roof vent, it can be a dormer vent, or it can be some type of like a turbine on the roof itself. But you've got to have upper vents to allow that air movement to go through the attic area. Now, I'm a little surprised if this is going through the city that they haven't already addressed it. And if they have, then it's a non-issue.
Okay.
But beyond that, the only other question I had is that it sounded like, from our last meeting, there was some additional work you were going to show us on the east side. And it appears to me that the only thing you're showing on the east side are the 2 ramadas that were not shown on the previous drawings. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, well, if that's the case, then I don't have any other issues with it. I would recommend approval then.
Lynn?
Looks to me like everything, all the questions that we had last time have been addressed, asked, and answered. And I think it'll be a great improvement. So I concur, it should be allowed to go forward.
Okay. Now it's my turn. Huh. Um, a little confused on the new garden wall. Is it solid masonry? It says it has a CMU stem wall, but it doesn't specify it. I assume it's CMU with a brick cap,
Yes.
and you poured a footing with rebar and all of that. And you can provide photos or drawings to the building department to make sure that that's sound.
Yes.
Okay, and it's about 10 feet, but you have 10 feet one, so it goes basically right up within 1 inch of your property line.
Yes.
It's a little tight. Have you had any comments from your neighbors to the east?
They don't mind it. I mean, it's set back, maybe like 2 inches from like the existing fence there. So you could actually stick your hand, between the fence and the wall. So it's not really impacting, their property line. And they like it actually because it provides, light in that area, which is normally pretty dark in the evening. And we run that light. So it's a nice security feature because it's illuminating that spot. Yeah, they don't mind it at all.
Uh, I have a feeling your louver doors aren't going to hold up, and it probably wouldn't be a preferred design, but they're there and you got them and they look nice. Okay, the shade structures, there's a clip of a corner, but they actually look like they're open ramadas. Are they made out of metal or vinyl, or are they attached to the ground? Does any water collect on them that could run off to the adjacent property, or does the rain basically fall through them and they're more of a sunshade ramada type structure?
Yeah, they're more of like a sunshade. They actually have like a gutter that collects around the rim of the top, and I think there's an internal gutter in the columns. So it just the water just kind of goes down.
But it stays on your property.
Yes, stays on my property.
And are they metal, or are they PVC, or?
They are metal.
Okay. You should add those details moving forward, but our biggest concern is because it's essentially a zero lot line along there, that no rainwater comes off. But if they're generally open and have self-contained installations, then they're okay considering your very limited lot.
Right.
In my opinion. How are they attached structurally to the ground, or?
They aren't attached to the ground, they just sit on the ground. Um, yeah, they're not like secured, so you could actually pick them up and move them around. But their weight, keeps them pretty solid.
You may need to develop something, because we occasionally do get downdrafts here that could like blow them around a little bit and scatter them. So you may want to explore options for securing them to the ground.
Okay.
The new screens, the new awnings on the room over on the 2x2 windows.
Yes.
In the photo mock-up, it's showing them smaller and only coming down about halfway, but on the elevations, it shows them almost completely covering them. Are they scaled smaller because the windows are smaller?
Yeah, that was the idea.
Okay. And while we're on this photo, further details of what you're planning on doing with recreating the stone wall below it. I do have a problem there because it is a new porch addition that's now 14 years old. And you are going to stucco it. It looks like you're putting in concrete sills that match the rest of the area. But why are you replicating the stone there along the wall, since it's probably going to have to be just a surface treatment exclusively because you've already got the CMU walls based essentially there?
It was just like we were trying to match what was there as closely as possible. But if it's if it's hokey, then we can just smooth it out.
It would make more sense from a historical context if it was just smooth, or even if you added a delineated stucco line there that's kind of raised with a, you know, an implied base, but it should be a different material because it's obviously not a rock foundation for an adobe structure in that
Right.
particular.
Okay, noted.
I think you probably ought to take that element out. You've got screens there on the west wall, and we commented on them. Are they solid, or can you see through them, or are they metal?
You can actually see through them. They're just a screen. They're like a really dark screen. It might be the weave is like really close together, but they're fully transparent in the evening.
Okay. Okay. And then there's that bathroom window, and you said that it is actually now horizontal, and it was an earlier owner that replaced the vertical wood window and framed in the either framed in or blocked in the window treatment. Is it an opening, a wood window? Is it an awning type window, or is it fixed?
It's a fixed picture window.
Okay, so wood framing with just a fixed piece of glass in it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's not terribly visible, so it's not problematic, but you should call that out in your notes that that had been replaced from the 2010 plans.
Okay.
Okay. And I didn't see it earlier, but the location just outside the door is where you're planning on putting the outside compressor for your new mini splits for the back two rooms.
Yes.
Okay. And you did clarify that it's the 100 amp service. I hope that will work for your AC. Do you anticipate needing to upgrade electric to accommodate any of the new air conditioning?
I don't think so, because there's still some open slots on my electrical panel, but of course I'm going to consult an electrical expert to make sure that nothing's a problem.
Okay. And just so we cover it, did you put on the HVAC, or was that done when you bought the house?
That was done when we bought the house.
Okay, great. Thanks for including that. I think it's too late with whoever re-roofed it when to do anything much about artificially recreating the chimneys that no longer stick up. But we did at least ask the question on it. Okay. Michael, do you have any comments?
Hey, Mr. Newton, did you receive any zoning comments talking about any setback or anything like that?
The only zoning comments that I saw online were they're pending the historic board approval. But yeah, we're not altering the footprint at all. The only thing, actually, it's going to shrink in a bit because we're going to be removing that fence that's fencing in the porch currently. So it's actually going to step back a bit.
Okay, the only reason I ask is because this board has the authority to help you to waive any setback if at all there is any, instead of you going through the DDO, the design development option application later on down the road. That's the only reason I ask. Other than that, Mr. Chair, I don't have any comment to add.
So our motion should include waiving the setbacks as shown or presented.
It would be highly recommended.
Okay. All right. Do we have consensus from the board? Should he do fake rock at the base, or should he just leave it stucco for the enclosure of the rear porch?
I would recommend that he just stucco it. I think it's going to be very difficult to make it look like it matches the existing.
And let me also caution that let's not try to create a false sense of history.
Yeah.
So trying to make it match the existing is just, this is new and it is new, it should be new.
I agree with.
Are you okay with that, Steve?
Stan.
Yeah. Are you okay with that, Stephen?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, you guys are the experts. I'm leaving it to you. So, and you're right. It will be easier to just do a smooth stucco instead of trying to create that rock texture.
Yeah, I mean, you do have the kind of the raised stucco line at like just below the Capitol line there on the enclosed front porch and on the rear porch as well. So you could do some sort of raised stucco area that continues the line of that base, but
Right.
replicating fake stone would be a little bit much.
Okay.
So, okay, so generally we're all okay with as presented, including waiving the setbacks and approving work completed and the enclosure as presented.
Yes,
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 Great.
yes.
Who wants to formally make the motion?
Okay, I'll make the motion to accept as the plans as presented. Okay, with the understanding that the new addition will be all stucco, as we discussed, and the setback changed as we discussed as well.
Or how about setbacks as presented?
I'm sorry? Yeah, setback as presented.
I second that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lynn. Okay, roll call vote. I say aye. Helen,
I,
Maurice,
Aye.
Dan,
aye,
Lynn.
I,
Great, 5-0. Okay, theoretically you're legal as long as the building permitting people don't trust you up, Stephen. So I take it you've spoken with Michael and you know the next steps. You'll be going to the plans review subcommittee for their comments next.
Okay.
And then our comments and their comments will be forwarded to the planning director that will issue a decision that may or may not include conditions. And then you can go apply after an appeal period for permits. And Michael can walk you through all that process.
Great.
All right. Thanks for putting it all together for us. And welcome back, and glad we were able to do it fairly quickly for you.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one. Okay, moving on to review number 2, item 4B, SD-1123-0019, 443 South Stone. And Kalen, I think you're presenting. Michael, can you allow him to share the screen?
Sure. You're good to go, Karen.
Good to go?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you, how's everybody doing this evening? Are you guys seeing my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet? Let me see here. Okay, 1 second. Let me see. Bear with me 1 second. So I'm sharing my screen now. You want to check it out? So I did what you said. Where'd they go? Did I eliminate them? Okay. So share screen, or did you click it? I did. Try it again. That's what it takes. You're not seeing my screen, correct?
No, we're not.
All right, sorry, we're clicking share screen right here. Ask him if you have to click anything. Is there anything I need to click besides share screen?
No. You have your plans open on your screen?
Yeah, I have the my package up right now. Okay. Right there. Okay. We got it?
There we
Yep.
go.
All right. Thank you, son. Okay. All right. So this is 443 South Stone Avenue. And we are proposing very minimal changes on the outside. I wouldn't even say changes, they're just basically paint. So let me get, so as far as the exterior goes, we're proposing to change 2 doors. We'll start with the doors, if that's okay. And we have 1 door on my development zone was extremely small, but it wasn't that big of a deal because we're only changing a couple of doors in glass. So the doors, this is the north end of the north view of the building. There's a door here, which is, we want to propose to change to match the original door, which is right here. Are you seeing my cursor?
Yes,
Okay, so that door is right here. This is the only door that was kind of left original on this on the north view of this building. This door ended up being a flush one, so we want to propose to just change this door out to match the original door that is right here, which is this door, the 8-panel door. And then on the west portion of the house, the same scenario. There's this door that we want to change, which is a flat panel now, and we want to change it to match the existing door, another 8-panel door. The glass, all the glass in the building, we want to remove all the glass. We're leaving the original windows, and I would proposing to sandblast the metal down because there's just multiple layers of paint on it. And we're going to paint it black and then replace all the glass panes. So we're not changing the windows out, only the glass panes, because they're just beat up. They're scratched. You can't see out of them. So we're just changing glass in the windows. I want to remove the wrought iron. The paint, this is part of the building right here. So the main building, the main structure, we would like to change the paint to match the back. We also are going to repaint that, but we wanted to just it's basically more like an antique white. It's very similar to the color you're seeing right here on this back portion. So this whole peach color, we want to paint white. So we got the paint, we got the 2 doors that we want to change out, remove the wrought iron, replace the glass only. And then in the courtyard, which you can't see from the street, which is right here, I'm eliminating this door because this door doesn't go to anywhere. You open it up and it's just like a foot of like a little storage. It's basically pointless. So I want to eliminate this door in the same scenario with this door, which you do not see from the street. So I'm eliminating this door and this door is the proposed. And then as far as you can see right here, see the awning they have here, this blue one?
yes.
And then there's another one over here. It says thrift store on it. This awning and this awning, we're proposing to change. So
There was one also on the north originally when it was permitted in 1987.
on the north. Oh, there was. Yeah, you might be able to see some remnants of like something over here.
Okay, but those 2 are the only ones that are there now, and you're planning on taking those off?
Correct.
Okay.
This one is completely. It's about to fall. It's about to fall down. It's so rusted out. So yeah, proposing to take these 2 down and replacing them with this style awning. So it's all metal. It's corrugated on the top, and it's metal, 6-inch metal tubing around the edges. These are some examples. There wasn't much examples in that development zone. It's so small, but more or less it's going to be a corrugated, this is the same concept, very small awning, just so you have a little bit of protection from rain and when you're going inside the door. And this is probably your best example of it right here. And so we're proposing 4 of those. So more or less, we're going to propose this is where the blue one was we were looking at earlier, over that original front door, which we're keeping. And then the blue one that says thrift store on it there, that's the west. And then the north end, we want to propose one on those 2 doors only. So there's a total of 4. And as far as the exterior goes, that's all that we're proposing to do. Is there any pictures or anything like you would like me to scroll to? I have the screen up.
You can go ahead and leave the screen up. We may have some questions.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Can you, it's business use now. We all know this as the Symphony, Women's Symphony Guild building for the last 40 years. It was last renovated in the 80s.
Yeah, the music school. Yeah. I still keep in touch with them.
It's been a number of schools and other things, but it's actually a pretty old building, and it's made out of adobe.
Yeah.
The first rooms were built in 1880, 1887, and then a lot of the additions were added in the 20s and the 40s, before the 80s remodel. It is unstabilized adobe that's been stuccoed. Can you walk us through the narrative? It appears like you're tearing out all the 80s wood walls and creating 8 units for a combined living space with no kitchen.
As far as the interior goes, we're not really removing anything. When I bought this property, the floor plan inside is basically the way it is, besides us adding bathrooms to it and a couple doors, but the layout has been the same. We've only added some interior walls. We haven't, no walls have been removed inside the structure.
Well, the first plan shows the walls that were put in the 80s that are going to be removed, and then you're creating bedroom suites throughout the area. So I don't think that was done before you bought the property, was it?
Let me see exactly what we're talking about here. So
you need to go up to
the floor plan, existing floor plan here.
Yeah, it's showing you removing all of those walls, and you'll see that there are adobe walls on either side of the front door over on the west side that are stable. The building originally had vigas and latias that were removed in the 1980s, and a truss system over that central part was put in. So it is true that those wooden frame walls are no longer structural, but those interior adobe walls that are very important for the overall structure of the building are not shown in your revised plans. They're being replaced with wooden frame walls to create suites.
Yeah, so as far as, you're right. These walls that were here, and this wall these walls didn't even go to the ceiling in there. But yeah, these walls are proposed to be removed and reframed. All adobe existing brick walls inside, none of them proposed to be removed.
Oh,
only adding removing the existing framed little walls they had to separate some of the music rooms. And so these.
Oh, you're changing a couple of the windows and the openings over in the courtyard and closing up some of the walls that's shown on this plan. Did you draw them, or do you have a designer with you?
My architect he's out of town today.
Okay, but you're essentially proposing 8 community housing small suites with a community area, and 3 of them have microwaves and mini fridges, but there's no cooking facilities, and you're proposing an occupancy of up to 45 people for essentially kind of a group housing situation. So what's your thinking?
So this is originally wanted to, well, two of my daughters want to stay in two of these over here. And I'm going to use one for my office. My son might use one this is the original plan. And we're still hoping to do this scenario. My son's a realtor. He wants to use one of them. And then I was thinking about renting a couple of them out. So that's the plan, this community lounge area is basically was just an opening that just kind of for an entryway in and out. So that's the original plan here, is to be able to use these for rentals, short-term rentals, long-term rentals, whatever allows it to come, and be able to use them, a couple of them as our offices for my son. Then my daughters really want to stay in two of them. So yeah, for more or less a rental. But as far as 45 occupants, the music school used to have like 110 students there. But yeah, no, we're downsizing as far as people.
Okay, but it's saying that it's going to shift from business use to all residential community housing. But not, and no transient housing, so not short-term rental. And if some of it's going to be offices and some of them are going to be living units, that needs to be defined.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
can I add something?
please.
The historic design review process does not regulate the use of the property. We can discuss this in terms of if the use is affecting the exterior, if the proposed design has some impact on what is happening on the exterior, then we can discuss that. But as far as the use of the property is concerned, the historic design review does not regulate the use of the property. We look at the design of the property.
Okay, it was more a casual question of what's going to happen with this property now.
Yeah, at this point
gonna
in
be a
time,
neighbor
I do not believe that you have the authority to determine whether it is 100 people, 10 people living in, anything. Your duty.
I realize the city will regulate all that. I was just trying to get a narrative of the proposal for the building.
Yeah, no, and I spent the last year with this, dealing with this city regarding the use of this. So yeah, it's been involved. So yeah, I mean, I've been involved with the city on that subject. But yeah, just so you know, this, as far as I can tell you, that's the plan here.
Okay, and just a question, because crime is up in the area and it's, 0 lot setback in most instances. Why are you planning on taking the wrought iron bars off the windows?
I personally don't like them. It's my building. I own it. I don't really like the wrought iron. I don't expect people to break in. I know, and I wouldn't say it's a high crime area. I own multiple properties in this area. It's definitely an area of high homeless in vagrancy, but it's, as far as crime, and as far as them breaking into these tiny little windows is highly unlikely, is something I've seen in the past not to happen. They're more likely to break into the bigger windows. I do have street lights there, stuff like that.
It's fine. I mean, personal preference is perfectly acceptable, and
yeah, these windows have a really nice feature how they're sunken in, and it's kind of taken away from this wrought iron.
Okay,
but I've been back and forth with the wife and and some of my workers on, oh, you should leave them or you shouldn't leave them. I want to remove them.
Okay, but fair enough. And replacing the glass and leaving the probably 40s or 50s metal framed windows and replacing the glass seems reasonable. You have them listed as 1/4-inch glass, but they're tinted. What sort of tinting are you proposing?
They're just a tinted glass, just like your low E glass that you would buy like in a double hung window. So it's about like a 35% is what they call it. It's got a slight tint to it. This picture right here looks dark, probably because of the shading, but it's not exactly clear. It has a 35%, just like your low E glass. If you're familiar with the low E glass, when the sun hits it, it kind of has a slight darkness to it. So it's basically replacing this glass with a 1/4 inch glass. There's an 1/8 inch in there now, replacing it with a 1/4 inch glass that has a low E in it.
Okay, I mean, fair enough. The thing is, we have guidelines that suggest that you can't have like smoked or mirrored or totally unclear glass. You can't have like mirrored glass put in.
Yeah, no, those are terrible. Yeah.
So we need some clarification of, will you be able to see in and out of these windows?
Yes, absolutely.
And will they be shiny and will they appear dark or will they appear clear just with some low E treatment?
Okay, yeah. We can make sure we make notes of that. Basically, it's non-shiny, it's non-frosted. You can see through, you can see in and out of it, just like a car window. Like your front 35% darkness of a window is the legal limit of most people's front windows in their cars. Not the windshield, but your driver and passenger front windows. That's the darkness of 35%.
Yeah,
So
but that's immaterial. We're talking about the visibility of the an historic structure. So it's fine. I just wanted clarification on this. You're saying you're using multi-panel doors. What is the material of those doors?
wood.
They are wood.
There,
So
this
are
one,
you-
this original one is wood. I would prefer to use fiberglass because they don't. The new wood doors these days just don't hold up. This is an original wood door and it's held up fine, but they
Well,
just.
it's not original. It's from the 80s.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Original when I bought it.
Yeah, okay. But we allow alternate materials, but fiberglass isn't suggested in an historic district, but a clad wood door might be. So there are several different options. We're just trying to get it. Flat panels aren't appropriate. Panel doors aren't appropriate either. So I'm glad you're taking off the flat panel doors and doing panel doors on the exterior. But we need to get a sense of the type of panel doors because they're not really illustrated except, hey, this is an example.
Yeah. Okay, so we can make note of that to clarify that. And the wood is what
Yes.
we're shooting for.
Okay, great. And then my other thing was about the new metal things coming out. It looks like they're a combination of galvanized and steel. Are they going to have a finish? Are you going for a rust look? Are they solid? Are they see-through? Do they have clear panels? Are they just an open ramada for a sunshade? That sort of thing. And then the other concern is the way you're showing them being mounted. You're showing a very thin wall there, but I'm not so sure that the mounting hardware is appropriate for an unstabilized 2-foot thick adobe wall.
You're concerned that the weight of this
Yeah,
would.
you may need a different sort of plating, both on the outside and the inside, to stabilize the adobe within, to be able to hold the wind shear on those sorts of things. So I don't know that that's quite what's what, but we're trying to get a sense. Are you planning on painting them black like the metal windows, or are you going to do a rust finish, or none of that stuff specified? So I'm asking.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the plan is I would like to do the exterior all black to match the windows, and then this top is not a galvanized; it's a corrugated metal, which would have the natural rust look to it.
Okay, so a steel frame painted black with corrugated inserts, so it will be a solid roof panel.
Correct.
And you're pursuing TREs because they're sticking out into the public right of way separately as part of your proposal?
Correct.
Okay.
And the length of them is very short. It's 3 to 4 feet.
Well, they're about the ones that you do show dimensions on, they appear to be about, they're not on your elevations, so they're not showing how they stick in the right of way, but they're looking like they're between about 4 feet deep and between 10 and 16 feet long. Does that sound about right?
The longest one would be about 16 feet, and that is this one right here. This one's about 6 feet wide. This one's about 16 feet wide. Where the thrift store one was, and the other ones are literally maybe 4 feet wide. You got your door at 36 inches, 38 inches of the frame. So these are about 4 feet wide on the north elevation.
Okay.
This one, yeah, we have to change that. I'm not sure why I just realized that now the architect has it going all over across the window.
A lot of these plans are not well dimensioned, so we're trying to get a sense of
Yeah,
what's kind of
yeah.
going on here. And then it says you're planning on doing dumpsters on site during construction. But the only area that I can see on the perimeter of your property is 6 feet 9 inches wide there on the north. Is that where you're planning on putting that sort of
That must have
construction
been
dumpsters?
that must have been a note that the architect just added in there. We don't need no dumpsters on site whatsoever. There's not much demo work, and we have trailers and trucks. There's no dumpster necessary. A dumpster, I don't like dumpsters in this neighborhood. People will just fill them up. It's too crowded. This dumpster's not necessary. We don't need them.
Okay, so overall, you're expecting kind of a cream finish on all the adobe and black for all of your trim doors and wood panel doors for all the exterior replacement doors.
Correct.
Okay. That helps me get a better image of it. Helen, you're next.
But Mr. Chair,
Certainly, Michael.
because you talked about the plans not being dimensioned, if you make your motion, maybe you should include that on your motion so that before you go to PRS, because PRS is likely going to have the same observation. So he might just as well do it now before he gets to PRS.
I just threw out some of my comments. The rest of the board needs to weigh in, and then we'll have to come to some sort of consensus when and if we make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Michael. Helen?
Hi, my concerns were actually the same question about dimensions. That, again, the toldo in the front, which appears to be extending past the window. I think just for clarity, we need to know, obviously, these things are not atypical of the area in general, so I don't find them an issue in and of themselves, but an extended one,
This one right here.
I think.
Do you mean all of the extensions on the perimeter? Because what's there is an awning with a cloth covering, and these are proposing to be permanent.
Right, permanent, but we do have permanent toldos like that throughout this area, so I don't find those a concern in and of themselves. It's a question of, how they're placed, if they're going to be an extra 6 inches out, that would not be typical.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they're all proposed to just cover the door. I did just notice this particular one right here for whatever reason it's covering the window. But yeah, no, they're just proposed to cover the door, just for cover to walk in and as you're unlocking the door. So this one we can alter, we can change that one.
Right, that was the one that particularly concerned me because
Yeah, it does make sense. I just saw that. I just caught that. So yeah, they're only covering the doors. So the north side, the ones we're proposing that I've never seen, but there used to be one over there. You can kind of see remnants of it, maybe the anchors and the walls. But this particular, the north elevation, we're just proposing the width of the door, maybe 3-4 inches over the width of the door. So this one would be basically right here. And then the west elevation, once again, we're proposing the same size of the ones that are there now. But just changing them out.
yeah, my concern is that you don't find them over windows. So
What was that?
you don't see them, this kind of awning or told over a window. It's
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. Good eye on that one. Yeah, that one will be changed right there.
Okay,
This does not belong to this piece right here.
that was my major design concern. And the other question was, I'm looking at the interior, and I would, as John sort of echoed, like to make sure that they're not taking out an interior adobe wall because of the structural impact. So if the adobe walls, the interior adobe walls are not being changed, then that's good to know.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. None of them are being touched in the site.
Those were my two concerns.
Okay, Maurice, you're up next.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions here. And by the way, what year construction is this complex?
It's got several dates of construction. There was the little room there kind of next to the courtyard on the north side was the original room from 1880, and then a Zagwan structure was built between 1887 with various add-on rooms up to about 1927, and then the northern area was built as a shop in the 30s. There have been some renovations, and then the storage rooms and the annex over on the east side were added as late as the 60s through 80s. So it's
Gotcha.
the property's developed and changed substantially in chunks of time over a period of time. And some of it's Adobe, and
Okay.
some of it's frame, and some of it's CMU. And
Okay, so I totally agree to the removal of the bars in front of the window, with the caveat, there are some organizations nearby where you will find a population that will be attracted into breaking into your house. So you should not, lose sight of it. Okay. Though I can understand, your feeling of removing those bars, and I have no problem with that. As far as replacing the glass in the windows and keeping the original windows and painting them black, I have no problem with that. As far as removing those doors and putting some wooden doors instead, fine, I have no problem with that. I have a little problem with your awnings. Okay, we're dealing with an Adobe house over here, and you're proposing to put some 22nd century awnings on top of them, and it's not going to match. Okay, number one. Number two, you're talking about Adobe buildings. Okay, as just for security, I don't know if you're familiar with Adobe, but putting those awnings and actually, hooking to the using the Adobe as a support for them is not going to work too good. Okay, the first heavy wing you're going to have, or if it's a little heavy, the whole awning is going to come down and it's going to destroy the Adobe. That's as far as the safety is concerned. As far as the look, I have a problem here. You're dealing with an historic Adobe, and you're putting 22nd century awning on it. It's not going to match. I have nothing against an awning, and don't get me wrong. Okay, I particularly feel that the awnings that were put back in the 80s really did not bring anything beautiful to the structure. Okay, it was one of those 80s decisions, and we'll leave it at that. But if we're going to change them, then, let's do something that's really going to match the building. Maybe you want to think wood instead of metal. Okay, look around. Okay, see what other people have been doing, with a Adobe building, before you go for that look. Again, like I said, I have, on a new building, I wouldn't mind putting this kind of awnings. On an original Adobe house, I feel that, historically, it's not correct. And, I own a few Adobe buildings, in Armory Park, so I'm very familiar with them. And as a safety feature, trust me, you don't want to install anything on the Adobe that could risk actually cracking the Adobe and having to redo it. Okay, it's expensive, it's dangerous for whoever's going to be under it. It's not worth it.
Yes.
So, I realize that putting an awning over the door is a good idea. I have no problem with that. It's just that it's whereas metal can be used in certain situations. In this particular situation, with an Adobe building, I don't think it fits.
Yeah, Maurice.
And
Yeah, you're right. I'm not set in stone by any means to have the awnings on the north end or even this particular awning here on the west. But I do feel like this awning, an awning here, like I honestly don't even, I have no issues of not having an awning on this thing at all, except over here on this west end where the thrift sign one is, if you can see it.
Yeah,
I can see it, and I do understand your concerns. Okay, again, like I said, I think they were a little misguided back in the 80s when they went for those portable awnings. It doesn't look like too much, and I don't have anything against awning. Don't get me wrong. Okay, it's just that for this type of building, for an Adobe building, as far as an awning, you're gonna want something made out of wood, not something made out of metal.
Yeah, this portion of the building is slump block over here.
Right.
This is the Adobe. This is the slump block. So yeah,
Okay.
we can eliminate all these awnings on this property except this one. And this is already built up framed metal, but it's just rusted out really bad. So
well, if it's slum block, then okay. On that particular wall, I would say okay, you could do it.
yeah,
Okay,
and plus we have two
metal.
walls. We have two walls to really support it. You have the side support and the back support, and it's slump block. But these awnings on this, I don't need them. And I agree with you. I agree with you. The metal can be heavy. I know the walls are 2.5 feet thick, and it'll hold it, but it's not necessary, like you said. And maybe they don't necessarily go, even though like all the houses in this area and buildings, they all have them. But I'm not by any means need them or necessarily want them. So I'm open to it.
Yeah, because if you look at
are you proposing that you put the awning only on that particular building and then the rest of the building you're not going to put the proposal?
Yeah, I mean, if this would satisfy them, because I'm in agreement to a point with that. I don't need the awnings here. These doors are slightly sunken in. The awnings are going to keep you from getting wet anyways, 100%. But this, I propose if we just eliminate, don't add on the two awnings on the north. And then the west, we do not need this awning, but to remove this one because it's dangerous. It's dangerous right now. It can fall on somebody. But I would like to have an awning here because it completes the building right here because it's offset.
It's also overhanging on your property instead of out into the right.
Exactly, and I'm not having stuff overhang and cause possible someone getting hurt or going over that property line. So this one would be the only one I could propose and eliminate those other three proposed ones.
It sounds good. Like I say, slum block. At least that you're going to be able to bite into the wall to install your awning. Okay. I'm not 100% sure whether you want to go all metal, because if you go up a little bit on your presentation, you were showing some awnings. Can you go up a little bit? You were showing a few buildings with some awnings. A little more. There we go. Okay.
Those are actually not buildings, those are not actually in the development zone. Those are in the downtown district.
Well, I understand that.
My development zone is literally 4 houses.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And they come under the heading canopy precedents, and I could see that. Okay, but if you look at those buildings, okay, they're all new. Okay, this is all new construction. Okay, And, you know, even though, okay, you know, this is a slum block that you're dealing with, this is not new construction. So mixing, you know, 22nd century style, okay, with, you know, if it's slum blocks, it's probably, you know, I don't know, somewhere maybe in the 1950s or 60s or something like this. I don't know if this is going to, you know, match so well. Again, like I said, maybe you want to think in terms of maybe something made out of wood, okay, may work out better, or a combination of wood and what was I going to say? There was a what you use for the roof, those tiles, red tiles. Okay, you know, something that's going to match more, okay, with the period, okay, of the building. Okay, and again, like I said, the more you're going to keep an historic feeling to your building, the more it's going to be worth. You realize that. Okay, so I totally applaud you as far as, you know, making do, you know, with that, those awnings on top of the doors. If you can live without them, do, because like I said, if you look at, you know, all the buildings in the neighborhood, they don't have awnings over the doors, not the old adobes. Okay, you know, they may have some wooden, you know, some wooden structures, you know, that were built, you know, somewhere, you know, over the years, but the original construction does not have awnings. So you want to keep it that way. This is what makes it valuable. You want to try to keep it as original as possible. Outside of that, the rest, I have no problem. Okay. I know that you value, you know, your property, so you're not gonna, you know, you're gonna keep your indoor adobe walls because, again, that's what, you know, makes it valuable. Okay. And you know, you're the owner, you know what you're doing. Okay. You want to try to keep it as much value as it has and increase its value if you can. Okay. So as far as, like, you know, what we talked about before, you know, those wooden doors I have no problem with. Getting rid of those fence I have no problem with.
I think you covered that.
My only issue here, you know, was those overhangs. That was it.
Okay.
Let's move on to Stan. We've got a couple more members to speak. Stan.
Thank you, Maurice.
Yeah, you're welcome, Ken.
Yeah, I think most of the issues that I had have already been addressed. If you were going to keep the awnings, I would certainly would have recommended a specific detail that you could have used to keep them in place, because what you have shown on the drawings was inadequate or is inadequate. As for the long one that's on the slump box section, I still think you need to go with through bolts all the way through the masonry construction and use fender washers on the inside, large fender washers, to distribute that load, because that's a fairly long one, 16 feet, and it's probably about 4 feet deep. So you've got some weight there.
Yeah, no, there's actually T-metal that runs through that wall and overlaps 6 feet into the building.
All right,
So
somebody who knows something about the structural impact of a detail like that with a cantilevered awning needs to have a take a look at it, because you don't want to have somebody put that up there who's never done one of those before, because you will.
100%. That's what the you know, that's what the, you know, plans are for the city to inspect, you know, during that process. Absolutely.
Your plans, the way they're shown right now, are inadequate. They're not there. They're not there yet. But if you're getting rid of the other awnings, you're not going to have a problem with the adobe. But you still, you can't necessarily just put an anchor bolt into the CMU slump wall unless it's grouted solid. Because if it's not grouted solid, it's not going to stand up.
So Stan, are you suggesting that if we do approve an awning on the slump box portion to the south, that it should come back for a minor review to make sure that it's structurally sound? Or is that something that we should comment on for further?
It's
the west.
We don't have to go beyond that point as far as I'm concerned. It's the city's responsibility to make sure that what he's got is acceptable and it meets a minimum code standard. So it's not our responsibility to say, this is the way you're supposed to build it. We don't tell them how to build. All we're doing is saying that we see a potential problem there and we need to have it addressed either by somebody who knows what they're doing or the city saying, you need to do this at a minimum.
What I can add is these plans, when they are finally a decision is made, the building code folks in residential are going to look into these building issues that the board is commenting on. They would not approve any of those things if it would not be sound. So that will be reviewed by the building code.
Great, thanks, Michael. Anything else, or are you all set, Stan?
No, I don't. My only other concern was what you addressed, John, and that is that, on the interior, and I know we don't have any authority on that, but, I want this to be a successful project, but I have the same concerns about the individual rooms with no kitchen. So, I mean, the only thing it can be is short-term leases on that. And I guess I'm concerned about that, whether or not it'll be successful. So I know we don't have any authority to say anything about it, but I certainly can see that, I hope you're successful with it. I hope it doesn't become a problem.
Thank you.
Lynn, comments, questions?
Everything has been said.
Okay. So are we, if we go ahead and approve it with no awnings on the Adobe structure and some modification of design for the slump block on the southwest corner and all wood panel door replacements and removal of the bars and transparent low E glass replacement in the windows. Are we okay with approving it and moving it forward from our perspective?
I am.
Yes,
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Would someone like to make that motion?
I
I'll
will
make
make,
I'll make the
Go ahead.
motion. You go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve the drawings with the removal of the awnings at the adobe walls, the approval of wood panel doors, the use of low E, minimally shaded glass, 1/4-inch glass, and a approved city detail for the large awning at the that would be the southwest corner of the building.
I will second the motion.
Did you forget to mention that the plans have to be dimensioned? That was one of the things that you discussed earlier on.
Yeah, I think we could, can we add that? I'm a friendly amendment. Can we add that, Stan?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what the addition is.
That the plans need to be fully dimensioned for further review because they're not, as you pointed out and I pointed out, they're not complete.
Well, that's fine. Does that mean it has to come back to us for another review?
No, it just means we've noted it and it needs to be fixed before the planning director makes a decision.
Very good. I will accept that.
Okay.
And I will second the motion with the amendments.
Okay. Michael, are you okay with all of that?
What? Mr. Chair, I'm just facilitating. It's your decision, it's the boss decision, it's not the staff.
Great. Roll call vote. I vote yes. Helen,
Yes,
Maurice,
Yes,
Stan,
Yes,
Lynn.
yes,
Okay. We've got it going forward. So we've done our due diligence. Good luck with it, Kaylin. Michael will outline the next steps of going to plans review, and you can work with your designers and planners to kind of, the plans review will need to see this projection, but also any revisions you make, including like details and other stuff, so that they can address whatever concerns they have as it moves forward in the process.
I appreciate all your guys' time. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You
Good luck
too.
with your project.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 5, design guidelines. Again, I'm not commenting. Item 6, minor reviews. Michael, anything coming up in Armory Park?
No, not this week. No.
Okay, and we have not had minor reviews to do. Okay, item 7, call to the board. Helen. You're muted.
No, it's doesn't necessarily unmute when you click on it. Okay, I have one thing that may be of interest. The National Association of Preservation Commissions will be doing a training on the evening of April 11th and the morning of April 13th. And that it will be open to members of the advisory boards as well. This is a national organization, and the topics that will be discussed are ones that were taken from the survey that was sent out to as many people as possible to get their opinion on it. And so I think it would be a great opportunity for people to get some more information.
That's in addition to the training that's planned for us, but it's not the
Right.
full one envisioned last year.
Right. The training that will be held on those 2 different dates by Jody is going to be much more restricted in scope. Some of the things that will be addressed during the camp training will be outreach and sort of public recognition of the work of the commission and the advisory boards, questions of code enforcement. I would have to look back and see exactly what else is on there, but there were, again, 4 topics that were pretty much consistently raised through the questionnaire.
I'd encourage we all do it. Is there a cost involved?
No, it's very interesting. We have up to 30 people for the standard price, and any staff, for example, Michael, can do the training without cost.
Is it going to be in Tucson or in northern Arizona?
It will be virtual. So you
Okay.
can, and the thing is, if people can't make those particular dates, it will be available for 30 days afterwards so that people will be able to do the training independently. But I think it's a great step forward in terms of providing the kind of information that is very useful to anyone who's involved in preservation in Tucson.
Was this discussed at the last Historic Commission meeting?
This was, it's been discussed forever.
Well, I know, but I was just wondering if it was brought up so that there's general knowledge, or do you have a direct flyer that I could share with the board, or is Jody planning on presenting the opportunity to all of us on all the advisory boards, or how will we get this information so that we can individually sign up?
I will, JJ Lamb is actually heading this up right at the moment. And she presented, well, actually at the last commission meeting, we did sort of an up and down vote of when people wanted their preferred time for taking the session. And it was split 50-50 between evenings and weekends. So as a result of that, it was scheduled for half of it, 2 hours in the evening and 2 hours on a weekend. to sort of take into account people's preferences. So it's, it's definitely a go. And the real question that was raised at the commission meeting last Wednesday, I guess, was whether it should be scheduled in an evening only or weekend only. And that was the result of that discussion. So once we have, this now has to go to the budget subcommittee. We have the money in the budget, so it's not a question. It just has to be formally confirmed by the budget subcommittee.
Is it likely then that, for instance, Terry Majewski, who's the chair of the Historic Commission, will be sending this notice to all advisory board members through staff, and that's how we'll all get formal notice? Or
I think that would be a great idea. Michael, what do you think?
That's a good idea.
Okay, we'll pursue that one.
that's probably the best way, so it reaches everybody without open meeting law hazards. But I would encourage everybody to go. This is the sort of education we've been talking about through the whole like split conversation for the past year and a half, so that it's actually moving forward now is great. So I plan on going. Okay, anything else, Helen?
No, that was I'm sure there are other things that did we ever talk about the fact that the Solari Chapel has been
Put on hold? Yes, we discussed that at the last meeting, and it's in the minutes we just approved. But you can always give us updates if something changes on that, because we know who we're dealing with on that one.
well, actually, the proposal that was discussed at the commission on Wednesday was that at this point, I think it's the university has a 2003 preservation plan, which has some kind of inventory of buildings, objects, landscapes that should be listed in an inventory so that we can keep an eye on them. That has not been done. And so I think probably at the next meeting, we will be recommending that that it would be very nice if the university would actually do this inventory, so that when people get ideas, as they did with the Solari Chapel, they'll have a reference point before they decide to do something destructive.
Do you mean the U of A has not provided accounting records for the last 20 years? I am shocked, I tell you. Okay. Keep us updated. Thanks for that, Helen. Maurice?
Well, I'm a little concerned, but there's been more soil testing done at the school on 14th Street and Arizona Avenue. Now, has anything come through the pipeline? Yes, as far as requests for permitting for permitting for construction or anything?
Nothing has come by my desk. The rumor is out there that the property is now for sale from Peach and other owners for the schoolhouse lots that are between Arizona and South 6th Avenue and 14th and 15th Streets. Michael, do you know anything? Is your office received any comments or requests for any of that?
No, I have no idea.
Okay. I think we're just going to have to keep our ear to the ground on that one.
Let's see what happens. Yeah, because so far it's the third crew, so something's happening.
Okay. Thanks for continuing to ask that question. Stan.
Yes, I've got one question. To the lot south of me, the two trees in the street right of way, one of them has a bad case of mistletoe. What's the responsibility? Is that the owners who lives in right in front of that or behind that tree to get the mistletoe out, or is the city come and do that?
It depends. The city will deal with right-of-way and street immediate hazards that are within the 7-foot wide by 7-foot tall pedestrian boundary, but the adjacent property owner is responsible for anything that happens to street trees or everything else within the right-of-way, and it's like that throughout Tucson.
Really? So it's his responsibility to take the mistletoe out of the tree?
Yes, but
Okay,
you might want to contact the neighborhood association because there are people who volunteer to do that sort of work for people who that sort of job escapes them. So
okay,
yeah, give me a call and we'll chat and we'll try to get David looped in and we'll see if we can get some tree people out there to deal with it so it doesn't kill the street trees.
great, thank you.
That's a community thing.
Yep, thank you.
Lynn, anything?
Nothing to add at this time, thank you.
Fairly quiet. I mean, there's the usual rounds of meetings. TEP has not published a next steps, but I guess there's going to be a stakeholder meeting. The only thing I want to comment, so it shows up in the minutes, is we do have our trainings, which are mandatory, and I haven't RSVP'd yet, but I'm doing the evening one during the week. But there's the morning session also live at Commerce Loop, and I assume and hope that everybody has signed up for those things coming up here. Either the 28th or is it the 2nd, Michael?
The 2nd of March, yes.
Okay, because we do need to have these things. That's part of the requirements, and it's the first time it's been done in a number of years. So hopefully they'll show us how to get better access to all the stuff we need to continue to do our jobs.
You know, John,
Yes,
I'm sure I've signed up for that on the one that's, I think in the evening.
yeah.
But I never got any confirmation from anybody on that. Is that, or should I be getting something?
I don't think so. I think you just need to RSVP so they can make sure that there's enough packets on hand for the people
Okay.
that show up, but they always have extra ones.
All right, very good, thank you.
People's plans change. Yeah. It also means that if you can't make that for inadvertent reasons, then you can go to the other one, but we're required to do the trainings.
Right.
Just so everybody knows. Okay, I think that's about it for me. Michael, anything? Future
No,
agenda?
no, I was just going to talk about the training you have, Mr. Chair, you have talked about it, so I don't think I need to get back to it again.
Okay, future agenda items. You listed a couple of zoning violation cases that may be coming. Do you anticipate anything in March or anything?
Particularly the applicants that I was hoping they will submit before this meeting to be here have not submitted, so still trying to track them down to make sure that they at least submit something so can bring them to you. So we're working on it.
Okay. And oh, one last update. I put it in when I sent out the draft minutes. Michael and I and Sarah finally, and probably Ken Taylor and someone from the school is going to do a test meeting to try all the equipment yet again that hopefully I or Ken can manage. So hopefully it's successful and we should be able to do a hybrid meeting in March. We finally got everybody roped in. So sorry about the delays on all of that. Sarah's been out of town and her brother had the equipment in a different state during the holidays. It just wasn't a possibility, but I think we're going to get it resolved. I think that's about it. Shall we go ahead and adjourn the meeting at
Yep. Okay,
8 p.m.? Maurice, you had a comment?
No, I was gonna say, let's call it that.
Great. Wonderful. We did it in an hour and a half, all things considered. Michael, you'll get the thing posted so I can get you a quickie draft LAR before Friday.
Sure, I will do.
Thank you so much. Have a
Well,
nice